Peter, you might be the first person on this planet that has ever shut me up for this long. Good old Heraclitus, I tell you, that wild and crazy guy.
If I came to you and I gave you $10,000 for 20% of the company.
Deal. Yeah. So, is that a verbal?
Younger than us, sorry to say, Joseph.
What, younger than 20?
Joe, we're just trying to help you because clearly you've lost control of the conversation.
I never, you know what, with all due respect, I never had control of the situation. Doesn't mean I'm over, gone. What doesn't kill me makes you stronger.
Look at you. You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're insane.
I am insane because actually I'm sitting on the wrong show. I'm actually sitting on Friday's show, which is the community show, because I set it up early and I'm thinking, where is Lauren Griffiths? And then I'm starting to freak out and all my anxiety is going haywire. I definitely need medication. My anxiety is, it's the classic anxiety of I threw a party and no one showed up. I'm the little fat boy that I was growing up, and now she's ditched me. And then everything starts going through my mind, and then eventually I text her, and then she comes on, and then I'm thinking everything's great except where's the countdown? And then I look and I see, oh wait a second, it says Friday. So I was on the wrong show. So we jumped off. We came onto this one. We started on time. Everything worked out as it was meant to work out. Let's say hello to a few people. We've got Vishal that said, hi, Joseph and Lauren. It's me, Vishal Samuel from India. Hope you're doing well. We are doing well because, well, I'm doing well. She looks like she's doing well. And Bob says, so looking forward to this episode with Lauren. Bob is commenting on Facebook and he is listening right now on Clubhouse. It's a whole multimedia extravaganza. I am liberated today wearing sweats, wearing a hoodie. You're going to see why soon enough. But today is Punch the Clock Day. And I'm not really sure whether that means we should be punching the clock quite literally or whether it's celebrating, punching in and punching out, maybe structure, maybe some kind of, being able to check your work at work and leave your work at the office. But today, of course, we know that we would rather be punching the punch clock because work and home is just all melded and blended together. Another way to celebrate Punch the Clock Day is to be grateful if you have a job. So there are many different interpretations. I'm definitely going to be asking Lauren when she comes on what her interpretation of Punch the Clock Day would be. Lauren, I think, has captured the hearts and minds of, and I mean it literally, millions and millions of people. And you're going to find out about her story soon enough. But in a nutshell, and it's how I've used to kind of talk about the show today, all she did was she changed her profile pic. That's it. She changed her profile pic on LinkedIn. And what followed is a glorious testament to authenticity and to being able to speak to a truth that so many of us have experienced, but never been able to articulate or find an outlet for. So I'm just thrilled to talk to her very shortly. Tomorrow, Daniel Golden, Pulitzer Prize winner, will be coming in to talk about not just the books he's written, but the new book that he's writing, which is all about ransomware. Sounds fascinating. And then on Friday, a community episode, which I was almost on today, with 5 of our previous favorites. And Lauren, who's sitting in the green room, you're now part of the community. So you can come back anytime for one of our Friday shows. And I will talk to you about that at another point in time. But now let's wish some people. Dion Kruger, an old, he is old because he just turned 50, an old classmate of mine, Steve Pacheco, ex-FedEx clients. And then on LinkedIn, James Fabian, Evan Roberts, Michael Campbell, Michael Asaf. Happy birthday to all of you, and hopefully you're having a great day today. Well, let's get into the seated soliloquy. And, not coincidentally, because we're talking about image and we're talking about perception, the soliloquy today is titled, Image is Everything. Do you guys remember that slogan, right? Image is everything. Those infamous words were uttered by tennis star Andre Agassi as he stepped out of a white Lambo in the Nevada desert as he lowered his sunglasses. It was a commercial shoot for the Canon Rebel camera. It very quickly eclipsed the world of tennis, and it kind of became a litmus test for all of the world. What Wall Street's Gordon Gekko was to the first half of the 80s, with greed is good, Andre Agassi was to the second half with that statement. Now, this was all before social media. Today, every denizen on every platform gets to become a player in the image game where perception is reality. In 2020, of course, it all hit ahead when reality bit back hard. Whether in our personal lives with the likes of Facebook or Instagram, or in a professional capacity through LinkedIn, we've all been given a tremendous power that, quite frankly, we don't deserve. The premeditated Machiavellian ability to be puppet masters of our own image that does not necessarily reflect a true reflection can be both harmful and damaging. Sure, it can be innocuous and harmless, but it can equally be dangerously misleading. To be clear, image is not always portrayed by pretty pictures. Whether through spoken or written word, we have an endless supply of weapons to showcase our perfect families and idyllic vacations, or how we're crushing it in the business world with a seemingly endless supply of leads, conversions, and deals. We've never been happier. We've never been busier. Viva la pandemic. Well, my guest today, Lauren Griffiths, with her Toss the Headshot initiative, did what so many of us wished we could have done, or certainly were thinking. I believe some of us are witnessing and even experiencing the counterbalance or trend of both greed is good and image is everything. But the real question is, will it stick? Will Trevor Noah return to the cleanly shaven, coiffed and made up suit and tie, or will he continue to be a schlumpf and let his brilliant mind and words lead instead of his superficial exterior? Of course, there's no reason why it has to be either or. Instead, let us use this time to look inwards, starting with our own profile pics, to determine if we are projecting our true, authentic selves. No smoke, no mirrors, just gloss. Because when the lights fade, the Canon camera shuts off, and the director shouts, "Cut," there's no one left but you. And now it's time to bring on my guest, the real VIP, Lauren Griffiths. Just a little bit of background on her. Lauren is an HR professional with over 15 years experience building and driving HR programs aimed at improving the employee experience. In her current role as an HR partner, she consults and advises her leaders on how to align their talent strategy with their business strategy. Her LinkedIn post on authenticity, where she tossed her corporate headshot for a more accurate photo of the real professional Lauren, kind of went viral. She's the creator of TossTheHeadshot.com, a blog about bringing your whole and true self to work. Lauren is the mother of 3 little ones and the wife of 1 big one. She lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, where she's anxiously awaiting her vaccination. And if she gets it before I do, well, I'll just come down and get one with her, because I too am anxiously waiting for it. Let's bring onto the show, Lauren. Welcome to Corona TV.
Thank you for having me. And I think that over 65 can get their shots now. So you should be.
Thanks very much. I appreciate that. Is that how old I look?
No. No, first of all, I am really appreciating you bringing your real authentic self to the show today. And thank you for having me.
You almost.
I think your soliloquy was fantastic. I'm not needed. You said it all.
I do not think that is even remotely true. Let's see what people are saying. Tom is here. He says hi from a rainy day at the beach. And Yash says, are you going to talk about book details or summary in that? Just asking. I don't know that I don't think we're talking about any books, but we're certainly going to talk about an important initiative as well. And one LinkedIn user just says, I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. So there you go. People are checking. Tom says the can in over 65 can get their shots in is aspirational at this point for most of us.
Yeah, this is true.
So there you go. So Lauren, we're going to talk about a lot of things. First of all, what about the punch the clock? How do you interpret punch the clock day? Do you literally want to punch the clock or punch the punch clock? How do you interpret it, as a positive or a negative?
I love that we're starting off with this question because I don't remember how you explain punch the clock. I'm starting off on a bad foot here. Remind me, please, and then I will give you my thoughts on punch the clock.
Well, I guess my interpretation of it was, are we celebrating celebrating the fact that we have a job? Well, I don't, but you do. In terms of punch, the concept of the punch clock. Was the concept of a punch clock constricting this idea of 9 to 5? I mean, the reality of the world we live in today is that, big time, even before COVID, there was no real thing like 9 to 5, right? That you don't answer an email or take your work home with you. So it was just I guess we can interpret these national days any way we want. We can celebrate it or commiserate it. So I guess if there's a question there, the question would be, how do you feel about the concept of a punch clock, right? 9 to 5, leaving your work at work, your home at home.
If you are able to punch the clock, that's very helpful for you. Most of us are not punching any clock. We should. Having a punch clock is not a bad idea. We are always on. We have to be really, really intentional about how we turn off. I used to be really, really good about separating my time. When I was at home, I was at home. When I was at work, I was at work. Super intentional, super focused and present in those moments. And that's how I did my best work. And then COVID happened and I was forced to integrate. And this type of always on, work is home, home is work, it doesn't suit me. But I've had to adapt. I love the idea of how do we go from like coping to adapting. So I've had to adapt to this. It's really, really hard. I think that as we move to more remote work as the norm, we need to do more to support employees and offer resources on how we shut down and turn off. A lot of this comes from leaders setting a really great example. It's about being intentional. It's about even putting some office hours on your door or on your computer, time to turn off now, manipulating your calendar in such a way, letting people you're not there, marking, time is out of the office. So we're not punching the clock. We are continuing to wind that clock over and over again.
We are adapting the clock, I suppose. I love the fact that you're in HR because and I could go down, a different rabbit hole, which I might just do, which is I actually think that HR to me, when I certainly came to the US in 1997, they were my saviors. They were the best function or the best department in the whole company. They were the people that hired me, and they were the people I would go to with a problem. They were the people that would take care of me if I was spiritually or even emotionally down. And then we went through this whole period of time, almost like 10 years later, where HR became the people you wanted to avoid like the plague. They were the pink slip people, and I was working in the agency environment. They didn't become your best friend. They became your worst enemy. But the fact is, where HR is today or where it needs to be, and thankfully with people like you in that capacity, when you talk about talent design, it's HR that will be responsible on so many levels to save us, in terms of our, now that mental health is not just a cliche, it's becoming part of our personal and professional vernaculars. HR is the only department that can lead the way and save the day.
Yeah, maybe I blame Toby from The Office. But yes, HR, we're advocates. We're advocates for the population. Ultimately, our job is to make sure that the company is doing the right thing, that people have a voice. and that we are creating programs to support people. Now, if you don't have a culture where people feel safe enough to tell you what they need, you cannot go and create these programs. So if people are not talking to their bosses about burnout or anxiety or depression, then you don't know that you need an employee assistance program, or you can't bring in a therapist to meet with people, or whatever direction you wish to take. So HR is meant to listen, meant to raise issues up the chain, to advocate, to advise, to consult, and to truly partner with the business in helping to lift the employees. Make sure that work is a safe place for people to work.
Yeah, there's no question. And actually, on a practical level, I don't know if it was a guest on the show or even I read an article that actually said companies have got to step up now and take care of their employees in terms of things like ring lights and, lighting and equipment to better help them remote and operate virtually. That's the one point. But then there's the other point about, dealing with things like childcare and dogs barking and creating environments even in homes that are so small that they don't support the ability to be productive and functional. Because, it's all well and good to say, to like laugh about the dog barking or a child crying. But the fact is, it's very intimidating and debilitating, as a person, when you hear this stuff, and even if your boss is on the other side, don't worry about that. It's fine. It's part of the new normal. But like your heart is breaking in the process. And so like, hopefully we're going to see more initiatives now in this hybrid melting pot of a work-life balance where these things are now budgeted for and accommodated.
100%. You talked about the things that we are going to leave behind and the things we're going to take with us when the world is normal again. And I think companies have made a lot of great strides in meeting employees where they are. And that's really one of the things I hope that we've learned that we continue to take with us. So the focus on well-being, mental health, providing the technology. I mean, technology is a basic, Wi-Fi connectivity is a basic human right these days.
Yeah.
So making sure employees have the tools that they need to be successful and that everybody has an equal opportunity to be successful at work. Flexibility, right? I think what we've shown is that it doesn't matter what we wear or how we look or where we sit to do our best work. It doesn't matter. We're learning this. So to that end, the flexibility that employers are giving, people right now is excellent. That needs to continue. The ability to be able to have backup childcare, to have assistance with aging parents, to have assistance with children with disabilities, to have employee resource organizations where communities can come together, all these sorts of things that enrich the employee experience, make you feel like your employer has your back. It affects the bottom line. Honestly, it's an investment. It's to any company's benefit to, people are your greatest resource at the end of the day. So we are learning a lot. There's been so much great work that companies have done to support employees, and I really hope it continues. And if you're a company and you're not there yet and you're listening to this, please send out a survey. Speak to leaders, speak to HR. If we could do one thing right now that will make a difference? What's one thing that we can do to support our employees during this crazy time?
I mean, amen. And Tom says, I like to think of the HR people as cultivating the garden where all the great plants can grow strong. And David Pushkin says, the mental health conversation is so important, especially in this current remote working environment. It is essential that leaders check in and feel the pulse of those in the span of care. So we're gonna move on, but before we do, what we tend to do, because part of our new reality, Lauren, is this kind of manic depressiveness of the highs, the lows, the work, the home, it all blends together. So in order to tell your story, we have to know who you are. And so this is a point that I call, fun facts about Lauren Griffiths. For example, here's what we learned. We learned that you attract stars.
I do.
And in fact, you have many great star sighting stories, and one that stands out is meeting Maya Angelou on an airplane. Did you sit next to her? I mean, if
No.
you did,
No, she was in first class. She was in first class. I had to pass her. And actually, it was right after she had done the President Clinton's inauguration. So she was, pretty notorious. I was able to recognize her, and I was young. My brother and I were getting on the plane. We were flying to Florida to my mother shipped us off. Sorry, Mom, I know you're listening, but we can't hear you. So just so you know. And no, I'm not wearing lipstick. So anyway, we went to my grandma's in Florida, and Maya Angelou is in first class, and we were so excited, and we spoke to her, and she was the kindest person. Okay, she brought us over to her. She gave us champagne. No, she didn't do that. She asked us how school was going. She was like really interested about what we were learning at school. I have her autograph. I still have it till this day. And, I don't think certainly at the time, I didn't realize what a profound moment that was to have met her, but I'm happy I did.
I always say you can't fake authenticity. And I think probably one of the most joyous moments that we have in our lives is when we meet our heroes and they live up to the expectation or the perception, right? We're talking about perception and reality and image. When that image is, in fact, as I spoke about glass versus mirror versus a reflection that has been crafted or cultivated artificially or otherwise. Well, here's one more fact about you, from the sublime to the ridiculous. I love this one. String bean casserole, the kind you make by opening 3 cans, is your go-to comfort food. This episode brought to you by Campbell's Soup.
Yeah, and then I'm drinking water straight for like 3 days afterward, but it is worth it. Literally, I will make, if I'm just in a mood, like 3 cans, and I have a stockpile of it for those moments, and I bake it, and I eat the entire, and I have like that 1970s casserole dish that's been handed down that is like the perfect place to put the casserole. And
I know it well.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. Very random, but now you know.
All right, so Lauren, I always loved the preamble. I always loved getting to know my guests and also discussing, talent design, by the way, is one of my most favorite passion projects. The whole idea of internal customer, right? Without the internal customer, your employee, you have no customer, external customer. How do you serve them? But we're here today to talk about an amazing story. At least that's what caught my eye and the eye of many, many people out there. So I went back and I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and it seemed like you didn't actually profile. There was just one post that I could find that said, hey, everyone, LinkedIn asked me to update my profile, which I did. But now it looks like I got a new job, which I didn't, smiley face. However, I appreciate all of the congratulatory messages. Yeah. And, this was
pre-emoji time. You had to do the manual smiley face. Tough life.
Massive engagement, 13 likes or reactions and a whopping 2 comments. And then somehow, first of all, you're going to have to tell me, before we talk about the post, what's going on between 5 years ago and present day or recent times? Why no activity on LinkedIn?
I didn't know what my LinkedIn voice was. I didn't have a voice on LinkedIn, and it's actually something that I had been thinking about leading up to the viral post. I only ever really utilized LinkedIn for job searching and to build a network. For what? I wasn't sure. Was not really active on LinkedIn. So yes, much to my surprise, I found my voice. I decided, and I was thinking about it, and I spoke to a few friends about it. I was like, I'm thinking about getting more active on LinkedIn. So I was like sleuthing around, like trying to understand, like, what's the vibe here? What are people talking about? And I got to tell you, there wasn't a whole lot of vulnerability. There's some really amazing stories that get forwarded with like a picture and a few words, but no one's really speaking from the heart there. And then a lot of people said, well, LinkedIn isn't a place for this, right? When I put that out there. And anyway, I beg to differ. But so I had been sort of like meditating around this. Well, what is my voice? And should I put something out there? Do I want to start something? I enjoy writing very much. This could be an interesting outlet for me. I haven't written in a while. I'm locked down. I got all this time on my hands. And then there's this photo, this professional photo of me, like irking me. Like I'm looking at this picture, that one, you know, I think I'm channeling Sigourney Weaver in Working Girl. Like
yes, absolutely.
Like that, like tough, powerful woman. Don't mess with me. I'm a leader. I'm smart. We took so many photos. And it wasn't professionally done. You know, my husband did it, but we filtered. I used like 19, found the right filter. It like, you know, blurred out the lines that are forming and collared up, collared down. Anyway, I worked on it. It was so fake. And anyway, I also made that my profile photo at work. So it's funny. So before I join a call at work, that picture comes up, right? So you're expecting one thing. And then I join the call. I'm like, hey, what's up, guys? And people are like, what? So yeah. So while other people were experiencing this dissonance between my photos, I was feeling it. And especially during COVID, right? So a lot of things happen for people during this time. One of those is a lot of introspection around how we spend our time, what's truly important in this life. Like literally, we've never been so close to like our mortality. There's like, you know, it's very scary. And I have anxiety and it made me anxious. And anyway, started all of these things sort of jiving together to bring me to this post where I kind of decided to put myself out there, change the photo, speak a little truth there, like, come on, like calling BS on the whole, you know, corporate look, the whole like LinkedIn fakeness, you know, that people put out there and just showing a real me. And then the response was tremendous, but what the response has like allowed me to even lean in further to it. So now I'm like, people appreciate me, you know, people appreciate this realness. I'm going to start talking about crying at work. I'm going to start talking about anxiety and the medication I take. And I'm going to start talking about all these things that we don't talk about. And I have a list in my head of other things that I want to talk about that I'm excited to talk about. This, you know, this notion of what it means to be professional is up for debate, especially right now. Now is the perfect time to really reflect on all parts of our life and especially what it means to be professional. For me, the fine line is respect. If you respect people, if you are coming in and giving your all, if you are delivering results, you're a professional. It doesn't matter what you look like. And I think that we've proven that. So anyway, what was the question?
You just answered it, but
Yeah.
but you spoke about
my story. Yeah.
You spoke about a certain reaction. So let's show that. As of this week, 41.2 million views of your post, 30,000 comments, 888. I'm rounding up. 888,000 likes or hearts or applause, etc. I think it's safe to say it went viral.
Yeah.
How did you react? First of all, let's take a step back. Did you have any idea that this would take off the way it did?
No idea. You saw my last post? You saw my,
Yeah.
I think I had like 150 connections. First of all, the start of my story is actually coming off of, I'm not on social media. We've discussed this. I'm not on social media for a few reasons, but I've made very intentional choices over the last few years to come off it, to remove myself from it. One, because I just like the privacy. Second, the whole authenticity thing. It's fake. It wasn't serving me. In fact, I was serving it. I spent way too much time like contemplating photos and photo angles and what's my comment. I was like in my head, always having this internal conversation about what I was going to post. Will this get likes? And then I take the picture and, oh no, Charlie has chocolate on his face in this photo. Everyone's going to think I'm a dirty mom. And what, like so much wasted time that I just had to just stop with it. Okay. And then I started to obviously realize like how inauthentic all of it is. And it's not how I wanted to spend my time. So then I go viral. So here's this person who's not on social media, who enjoys her privacy. And my post, not one picture, but 2 pictures are going viral. They're going viral. People are commenting on my eye color, my hair, my look. They're saying not so nice things. I'm getting calls from journalists, from the media, from my company. We're talking about it. I was a deer in headlights. I didn't sleep for like 2 weeks. I was shaking. I didn't know what do I do with this? And ultimately, you know, I decided that I just had to kind of stick true to my values. I can pick and choose what I want to do with this. I don't have to put any added pressure on myself. And a colleague of mine said to me, Lauren, you have a platform now, stand on it. And I said, you're right. Never in my life have I been able to inspire at scale, to share my ideas, have a willing audience. And the fact that people were changing their profile photos, that I inspire them to come forward with the real them, that now I can put forward these ideas and people are thanking me. I mean, I'm so filled with gratitude. It's such a blessing. So I was absolutely not expecting this by any means. I was in complete shock. I'm still in shock. The fact that I'm talking to you with that giant mullet behind you, yeah. Those glasses.
Well, you know, Andre Agassi can be very intimidating. By the way, Michelle Spiegel says, you're amazing, Lauren.
Oh my God.
Ahead of the time getting off social media. So, you know, you're a visionary and a leader.
Yeah.
But you know, you mentioned how you inspired people to ditch or toss the headshot. Here's your most recent inspirational test case. That was me this morning, basically realizing my LinkedIn profile pic was probably taken about 10 years ago, maybe 10 plus years ago. And that's me this morning sitting in my office, my home office, wearing the same clothes I'm wearing now. And I have tossed the headshot thanks to you.
Awesome. Congrats. You know what? That other picture, yeah, you're not smiling. There's no personality there, but that's who we need to just stop being the person we think people expect us to be and just be ourselves. I had so many, and just like you asked me, so many people would say to me, Lauren, you know, they would write to me, do you like my profile picture? Should I do this? Should I do that? And my response, I know it's simple. I'm like, you do you. You do what makes you happy. And that's it. If you feel comfortable in your photo, then great for you. And if that's you with a blazer on, you know, with a shiny smile, like good for you, you know, but don't feel like you have to fit into society's expectation or mold, because you're not going to do your best work that way. You're not being vulnerable. People don't trust, you know, there's like trust that's not being built there. So it all goes back to this idea that, you know, authenticity, vulnerability builds trust. And part of that is showing who you really are.
So let me ask you something, because now there's no Dear Abby, it's Dear Lauren. The advice, you do you. It's fantastic. It's perfect. It's you know,
I didn't make that up, but I've heard it somewhere. So please,
yeah,
I'm not trying to take credit.
And I'll give you credit for a lot of things. I won't give you credit for that because I know you don't want the credit for that. But here's a question for you, which is, it is speaking the truth. It is speaking truth. It is speaking to the truth, this idea of authenticity. But people struggle. People don't know how to be themselves. How do people actually, you do you? How do people be themselves?
Yeah.
What's the first step to take?
Yeah. So, well, there's 2 things there. First of all, I think it's important to acknowledge my white privilege And it's not as easy for everyone to be themselves because we're up against a society that has a lot of, implicit unconscious biases. And we sometimes have to work to work to those biases to our advantage to advance. Anyway, so I just want to put that out there. It's probably a little easier for me to do me because I have a job, because I'm white, because I have a support system, because I have Wi-Fi, all these other things. So let's just put that aside. Okay, second, I'm going to quote Brene Brown. I put this up because I knew, first of all, that I would botch it. I am notorious for doing this to quote, so I'm just going to read it. Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. So what she's saying here, and one of her most famous sort of mantras is that trust is built in small moments. So the first thing is you're not just going to show up one day and be like, this is me, right? It's small intentional things that build up over time. The way I like to sort of envision it is like there's a puzzle over your face. And every time you share or show something, you're removing a piece of that puzzle until finally it's there. So there's a few ways. Now, the real you is certainly subjective, right? But for me, I can tell you what that looks like. For me, it's letting my manager know when I'm struggling, letting her know when I'm having a tough week, letting her know when I need help, letting her know when I'm really proud of something that I've done. I've never had a manager who hasn't seen me cry. And one, I couldn't help it. But I wrote this whole post on why, you should stop apologizing for crying. And crying and showing emotions, why should we not do this at work? If you're an emotional person, you do this throughout your life to everyone, your family and friends. All of a sudden you get to work and you're not an emotional person. You need to show that. And in some ways, if you're a people leader, that's a superpower. The fact that you are emotional is a superpower. You're more likely to be compassionate, to express things, to create connections with people. So please don't hide that. It's embracing my flaws. It's saying where I need help. And it's not sacrificing, again, who you are to meet the expectations of others. For me, that's what showing the real me is. And to Brene Brown's point, it comes over time. It comes in small pieces, in small ways that you reveal yourself to other people over time. Now, here's the issue with that. We're not in an office, okay? How do you do this if you're not in an office? When you're in an office, there's that opportunity to connect. When I worked for Google, I remember learning that the free food was not really a way to keep people or make sure people were eating healthy. The idea behind the cafeterias were as a meeting place, a place where different people from different parts of the business can congregate and share ideas. That was the initial reason behind the cafeteria. The food was just a draw. And over those meetings, you get to know people. Well, how do we do that, right? So Google understood the value of, that water cooler relationship building, but we can't do that now. So what do? Be super intentional about it. One way is, and that was my last blog post, use the mood meter, okay? Super simple. Instead of starting your call saying, how you doing? I'm fine. How are you? You're quick. Look at you.
Yeah, I've done my homework, but
you're good. You're good.
It's only because your posts are great.
Yeah, thank you. Use other words to describe how you're doing. First of all, that is a skill set, okay? And it's something that I've actually been working on with my kids as well, is how was your day or how are you feeling? No, you cannot use happy, sad, or angry. Let's use other words. And I might give them some words to help them. And what does that mean? So naming your emotions and then being able to express them is really important. And one of the reasons it's also important to do something like this, and again, this is Dr. Mark Brackett's research. I am not a researcher. I'm just someone who lives this, is what you might interpret as someone being angry. That person came into that meeting, they're really angry today. But then you learn they're actually feeling shame, or they're actually feeling nervous, or they're actually feeling resentment. We interpret people's emotions completely incorrectly, and then it informs how we think about them and how we judge them. So anyway,
Lauren, I wanted to just press
sorry.
No, this is great. I mean, I'm going to give you your own show. I'm just going to go. I'll be back in 20 minutes, and I love it when I'm the host, but I'm actually feeling like I'm listening and I'm gaining and learning. So this is great. You know, it struck me with you and your kids that I know this as a parent as well. How was your day? Good or great? Great. You know, there's almost this one word, you know, happy, sad, as you were saying. But then it struck me as you were talking that we suffer from this at work as well.
Yes.
Where it is the equivalent, it is the emotionally stunted equivalent of good. We don't take the time to actually take the time to find out about how someone is feeling, really feeling, which means asking additional questions, demonstrating that you actually care what they have to say. And then there's another part, the sting in the tail, the scorpion tail, is that when they say, actually, I don't feel okay, we don't even know how to react to someone professionally. And so it's like a double whammy, which is on one side, we're not really asking the question, but more importantly, if we get the answer that we don't like, we don't even know how to deal with it.
Yeah. So there's two ways to deal. So you don't have to deal with it, right? That's one thing. There's empathy, there's compassion. So empathy is saying, I understand, I've been there before. If you show up, you know, and you go through the mood meter and someone's saying, I'm really tired, or I'm feeling sullen today, you can ask why. And then I'm sure you have a story. And then there's a connection right there. Like right away, you're connected with that person. And then I heard someone else, see, I'm watching this up. The difference between empathy and compassion. Compassion is empathy with action. So you don't have to necessarily try to fix the person's problems, but you could just be there. And then, you know what, a week later, you could check in and say, how are your kidney stones? Or, you know, how's that backache? How are you doing? How can I help you? Right? Is there a way that I can help you? In HR, obviously, I you know, I'm very savvy on a lot of our programs and resources. So sometimes I'll be like, hey, did you know you could call this number? And, you know, we have like a legal plan or like whatever it is. So I do that, right? I'm a connector, but it's not your job to solve the person's problem, but showing empathy. Oh my God, showing empathy is such a great way to connect with your teammates. So the mood meter as a way to accelerate trust in a remote environment, when we know that trust and safety and belonging are the most critical components to someone being happy at work, someone feeling valued, and someone actually doing their best work. And yeah.
So Lee Durst says, this is really good, Lauren Griffiths. Obviously, on LinkedIn, she must have added you there. That's why your last name is
Thanks,
there.
Lee.
And I know Lee would never say, hello, Lee Durst. It sounds like what you're really building beyond authenticity is greater emotional intelligence.
It's all related. It's all related because if you are aware of how you're feeling, then you can share that with someone. Another interesting thing I learned from Dr. Brackett is we tend to disclose our real emotions, especially when we're speaking with someone in a higher power than us. So if you're meeting with your boss or your boss's boss, you're less likely to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling stressed out, because you think like he describes as meta emotions, your emotions about your emotions. They're going to think I'm weak. They're going to think I can't do my job. I'm going to get fired if I tell them I'm struggling. Well, it's not true. They're going to say, wow, hopefully, this is a human being just like me. And I'm so glad they felt safe enough to come to me and talk to me about this. And a leader, a good leader, a great leader will say, what can I do to help you? How can I help? How can I help? Tell me.
Well, there's something else that I want to just point to, which is another of your wonderful posts, which is this idea of, can we stop apologizing for, I would add, not just how we look, but how we feel. So it's one thing not to feel like we can even, share, I'm not feeling well. I don't, etc. But then you also touched on this other nerve, which is this need to have to say, I'm not on top of my game right now, or I didn't dress up for you, or whatever, literally or figuratively. So this is yet another way. I mean, I think it's, to Lee's point, this is emotional intelligence for everyone. It's for leaders, but it's also for workers. It's for connections at work that says we can actually, if we want to create a better culture, then let's create the better culture rather than expect it to be created for us by others.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think a lot of companies put together, you talk about talent design, talent strategy, and they miss out on the culture strategy too. That's a really big piece of it. What is the culture that we want to have at this company, and what do we need to do to get there? And what's the plan? And who's going to be our culture carriers? And how are we going to instill this culture in everything that we do? I mean, that's where it comes from. But, this idea of apologizing, I was guilty of it. I started noticing it right away. First of all, we weren't used to just sharing our cameras all the time. But people would get on and say, oh, I'm not sharing because I just went for a run, or, oh, sorry, sorry, I didn't do my hair today, or whatever. And the first thing is, it's almost offensive because you're implying that I care about how you look, so I deserve an apology. And we just need to stop doing that. And there's a whole long history with women and apologizing, and there's been campaigns in the past, stop saying sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. It's a lot of that. Especially, we should not be apologizing for how we look, or for not putting makeup on, or any of that. It is just ridiculous.
I want to talk to you about specifically this post about show video. Why? First of all, I love where you are taking us and where you are leading us, which is the fact that you don't have to look your best. You don't have to apologize. The expectation there should be no expectations other than human to human contact. We would see each other at the office. We would see each other at the cafeteria, at Google, and to judge anyone at any time, past, present, or future, is just not something that should be part of any culture. But I will say I feel almost dejected when I have a call now on Zoom predominantly and someone doesn't come on video, just because it's become so much a part of my life now that I want to see people and I want to be seen. And I actually, almost feel awkward and insecure if I'm on camera and the person on the other side is not on camera. I don't know where to look. I don't know what to do with myself. It's also been a great way for me to focus on that person as opposed to multitask or do anything else. So I feel strongly that I think we're in a place now where every call is a video call, where we don't need to do audio calls anymore, but for the right reasons. That's the only thing I would say, because for human connection.
Someone had posted, now keep in mind, I wrote that months ago. Someone posted around video fatigue. And I actually hadn't heard that before, but it's true. I mean, at the end of a day, you're you're actually just tired of looking at the screen. And I understand that. But I think that if you are not going to share your screen, just say, can we move this to audio? I've been staring at the screen all day. I'd rather look out my window. Let's just communicate, right? Let's just communicate about what we need. I had a call just last week. There's a really great book called When, and it's around people, the time of day where people do their best work. And
it's called When, as in W-H-E-N?
When. It's by the person who wrote, why do I do this? I
will track it down.
No.
Like a
I
bloodhound.
always get him confused, Thomas Pink or Daniel Pink. One makes ties and one is a brilliant researcher.
I think it's Daniel Pink.
Daniel Pink. So he also did the one, Drive. He wrote Drive. Drive is like an incredible book about what motivates people. But anyway, I know that I do my best work in the morning. So I had this working, yay. Okay, When, thank you. someone had scheduled a call for me. Maybe even I scheduled. It was like 2:00, but it was like a deep dive working session. And we got on the call and we started talking. And I just said, honestly, I'm going to be honest. I'm just not in the proper mindset for this now. Can we move? Can we move? I should have moved it before. I should have seen, like you, I think that you have to be really good about when you schedule things and when you move things. So if I know that I do that best work, that kind of focused work in the morning, but anyway, I just wasn't up for it. And I said that flat out. And she was like, no, that's cool. She's like, that's totally cool. I get it. Why don't we just like, you do your thing, I'll do my part. We'll reconvene at another time. Great.
I love the idea of the very simple phrase, can we just move this to audio? And I actually think there are a lot of scheduler tools now and a lot of pieces of software that allows you to choose the actual platform or medium that's right for you. And in some cases, it might be, here's a coffee shop that we could meet at, my favorite coffee shop, and these are the times. So it can be physical, and then there can be some virtual solutions. And I love the idea off the bat for the person on the other side, of the equation, being able to have that empowerment to choose the platform of their choice. Quite frankly, it should never be the superior. It should be the subordinate in the sense, which is if you're, it shouldn't be the boss or the manager or the leader. It should be the other person that gets to choose an environment that makes them more comfortable and is more conducive to a productive meeting. So absolutely love that.
Yeah, I sorry, I was going to say, and if it's a video call, you see the other person. I mean, it's just, I think common courtesy. Just I'm not sharing my camera. The dog's in the back. I just think we just need to communicate our intentions. Okay, you can turn your camera off. Do you mind if we do audio? Exactly.
Yeah,
put it in the invite. Put it in the invite. This will be an audio call. This will be a video sharing call.
We could turn this entire interview into an audio call by just closing our eyes.
Okay, my next big post is how to not feel horrible when someone tells you you're muted. I mean, is there anything worse than that feeling? That mute button when someone's like, no, sorry, you're muted. And you're like, I am just a loser. And you're like, sorry, sorry. And it's just that awful feeling. Yeah, you're muted. You're still muted.
Oh, I was muted now.
Yeah, you're muted. But when people tell me I'm muted, like I know. I want to kick the wall. I'm like, it's not me. It's the computer.
And then there's also the sign language. Like some people are going like,
yeah, exactly.
So there are a bunch of comments. I just wanted to share them because then we have to talk about boozing.
Sorry,
we have to talk about the boozing and the 100-day challenge. So this is I think this is Evelyn. She said just chose a less formal picture last month for my author photo because it felt more like me. I love the idea of choosing where you put your energy and of representing our true selves. Someone on LinkedIn said, will there be a recording that can be shared? Absolutely. What you're watching right now will be able to be replayed. The same link. Let's see what else. Jacqueline Miranda said, we feel comfortable when we see people in the other side of the camera. Sounds better or familiar. I mean, I know I do personally. And then it is, in fact, When by Daniel Pink. So there, just to echo that. Michael Brent Kaiser says, Lauren, you're making spot on points about video audio as your authentic self, from kids to pets to wearing workout gear to muting and unmuting. I mean, the bottom line is, and I've just posted in the comments section a link to that original LinkedIn article if you want to read it and join the 41 million train of people that are saying, thank God someone is speaking that voice that we've needed for so long. Lauren, I want to ask you just a few final questions about where you are now. The first is, I wish we had more time, but we've got the Zoom after show. The question that I wanted to know is, how did your employer react to this newly found fame? just a very briefly one. How have you been able to? That's another line, right, or another compartment. There's work, there's home, and then there's Lauren, the HR consultant, and Lauren, the rising,
they're all the same person.
Brown.
No, they're all the same. What are these compartments? No, they're all the same person.
Love it.
Yeah, we got to stop compartmentalizing ourselves and just be that one person. We can show different sides of that person, but we're all the same person. Oh, my employer was so happy. They retweeted, they had me on their intranet page, they had me write a blog about it. I was a little mini celebrity for a while, but the novelty has wore off. But people would get on calls with me and be like, I can't believe I'm sitting here with you. And I'm like, this is amazing. I'm a human being just like everybody else. I fill up my tank, I go shopping just like everybody else. No, I'm joking, but they were completely supportive. Keeping in mind, I talked a little bit about my privilege. I happen to work for a company that's been named the #1 best company to work for twice. There's a reason for that. So a lot of my values and the way I come across is because I work for a really supportive company that talks about bringing your whole and true self to work, and they mean it, and I see it. And when all of this was happening, as I said, I was very overwhelmed at first, and I was having a one-on-one with my manager, and she said to me, like, are you okay? Like, seriously, are you okay? Is this too much for you? Like, how can I help you? And that to me was like, all the other support was great, but for me, that made me feel great. This is someone who sees that I'm actually struggling with this a little bit. It's feeling overwhelming at this moment in time. And I felt like I could come to her with that, and she wanted to help me. And that makes it a great place to be.
It's a fantastic story. And, as someone who has been in the social media space and has been writing and speaking on it for as long as social media has existed, we constantly see stories of companies that just don't get it, that mute their employees' voices when suddenly that voice just rises up, and they don't know how to deal with that. Recently, there was this case with a Sherwin-Williams employee who did these incredible pieces of art with paint, and they went and fired this person who's now become an absolute celebrity and was hired by another paint store. So that is great to know. I tell you what we're going to do. If you really want to continue this conversation, and who wouldn't, we can find out about social media, anxiety, boozing, and your 100-day challenge in our Zoom after show. If that is not an incentive to come and join us on Zoom, and simulcasted maybe on Clubhouse, we'll see how that goes. Then I don't know what is. I want to ask you one more question before we go, and then we'll do our quote of the episode and our Corona question, which is, where to now for you? What happens next, and where do you see your future playing out in terms of having this voice, using this platform, and quite frankly, this responsibility almost that you have now, which is people are looking to you for a bit of guidance, because we need it.
I will gladly be the voice of the people and push this really important dialogue. And I want to continue to have these important discussions. I think as we approach all of these topics with curiosity and not judgment, we ask we may not have the answers, but I want to keep asking the questions. Why are we doing this? Why are certain people treated this way? What's the point of this? Let's rethink some of these notions about professionalism that no longer serve us, or that are no longer relevant in this world right now. So my goal is to keep doing that.
Well, I will certainly be cheering you on from the sidelines. Lauren, I'll flash up the various ways to connect with you. But first of all, I spoke about there's always a quote of the episode. This one is a little bit more lighthearted and playful. I reinvented my image so many times that I'm in denial that I was originally an overweight Korean woman. Do you know who said that?
Okay. I'm thinking. Is it like a RuPaul thing?
It is, well, kind of, but I'll put you out your misery. This was the late David Bowie. So there you go. I mean, this is we're all struggling to figure out exactly what our authentic self is and how that manifests.
And you know what? And it's not a static thing, and it changes over time, and that's incredible.
Yeah, as you know, as David Bowie was letting us know.
Yeah,
all right,
exactly.
So a quick Corona question for you. With the Super Bowl coming up next weekend, what's the best Super Bowl commercial of all time, or one that you one of your favorites, or one that you always remember?
I had no idea that the Super Bowl was coming up, by the way. This is one of the issues with not being on social media. So I really cannot think of all of them, but this one stands out in my mind, and I'm bringing it up because it is Betty White's 99th birthday this week, as I understand it. And I remember there was a commercial where she was playing football, and someone like knocked her to the ground. And who knocks poor Betty White into a pit of mud on a football field? And it was a good commercial. It was so good that I don't recall the product, but I remember Betty White, and I'm just paying a little tribute to her with that answer.
I can tell you who it is, but it's funny because on Monday's show, the example was the herding cats example, and I think and the brand that was associated with it, incorrectly, I might add, was Doritos or a car company, but it actually was EDS. I had to go and actually research it, but I do know the answer to this one. It's Snickers.
Nice.
You know, but this has been just such a great experiment this week, because you get to see something that gives me a lot of joy, because I'm a mischievous, imp when it comes to advertising. How many of these massive budgets and media spends actually don't result in someone even remembering the brand? But this is the story of advertising. That's why I'm a marketer. So Lauren Griffiths, guest number 195, not Sigourney Weaver, guest number 195, but Lauren Griffiths. This has been amazing. Do not follow her on Instagram. Do not follow her on Twitter, but do absolutely connect with her on LinkedIn or on her website and blog. So we're going to head to the Zoom after show. I was so excited to meet you. I'm so grateful for your time, and most importantly for what you've been doing. We always leave you with the words of Mr. Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
There you go. All right, let's head on over to the Zoom after show, and I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at CoronaTV.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.
So this is where I get to try and figure out how the hell to now switch this back to Clubhouse, and if it even makes sense to do this on Clubhouse. Hello, everyone. So I'm just going to say Zoom after show. I'm going to do this on Facebook today with Lauren Griffiths. And yeah, let's do that. Bear with me, guys. Public All right, we're going live on Facebook. We're letting people into Zoom. We've got Lauren coming in. I will make sure that I... Hello, everybody.
You're muted.
Hello.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
damn. So just hold on. Wait a second. How about this one? There we go.
Oh,
I'm off camera. I'm on camera. I'm off camera. I'm on camera.
Your high school yearbook picture. You know, you look too young in that one. Seriously.
All right. So now I've got to figure out how to do this on Clubhouse as well. Well, welcome everybody. I see Mr. Garfield is on a Clubhouse as well. I'm going to go play around with this stuff, but I'll let you guys take it away. I have a quick question just for people that, Bob, that's you probably, because you're on. If anyone is on Clubhouse, Bob, Manif, you got to choose one or the other.
There's an echo.
Yeah, I know, because they were on two different platforms. How was Lauren's video? For me, it was kind of grainy and like freezing, and which is why I didn't make you. Huh?
Yeah, it froze a lot. Internet connection it varies day by day. What phase the moon is in. So yeah, it froze a lot, but that's okay. The audio was great.
But that's why. I mean, it was fine. But Lauren, that's why what I did was I didn't make you full screen a lot. I kind of kept it smaller just because of the resolution. But that's just one easy way to fix these things. But anyway, so what did you guys think? Take it away while I'm inviting people on Clubhouse.
Well, today's I'll just jump in. Today was a great version of the oldest philosophical distinction in the history of the world, the distinction between appearance and reality. Mm-hmm. And my daughter's a professional photographer, and she used to have to wrangle with the real estate brokers who didn't want their headshots to look anything like their real faces. And they would keep saying, oh, you got to Photoshop this, you got to do that, can you make me look good? And people, even with the baby pictures of their little babies, can you take this wrinkle out right here? I mean, it was like, really? What's this all about? It reminded me today so much of the Dress for Success movement back decades ago. And the guys who would say, don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want. And, I tried that, but people kept wondering about the clown suit I was wearing every day. So
what's interesting about Dress for Success, and they've probably changed their model over the last few years, but I did some training with them. I was going to do some leadership coaching with them years ago, and they brought in like a dress consultant, okay? And she was showing us how she consults with her clients. And it was so, and this wasn't that long ago, but it was like, she actually had me stand up in front of the room and was putting like different like swatches of color and she had everyone vote on like which was my power color or something. And looking back on it, I wish I would have just said, look, okay, well, I understand the confidence boost, right? That sometimes dressing a certain way or feeling like you're in your power color can give, but let's not make that Dress for Success all about that. And they do other great things to build confidence and interview prep.